Okay, so we'll buzz through the announcements real quick. Most of today is going to be Gabriel, who won't stop spitting. He'll be doing parliamentary procedure, which is super important, but we're only going to kind of buzz through that as well.
Full name.
As it appears on your ID, please.
Yes.
First and last name as it appears on your ID.
Your driver's license.
Your driver's license and your
Alex
driver's license number. State issued identification. Full name.
Sounds
I don't care if your name is Alex. Just
It
as
says
long
our
as-
last name first though. Do you want us to write our last
I
name?
give no fucks.
We're giving
Social event, we're gonna go through the social event, all that stuff. Current event is gonna be Laney. Then we're gonna do officer reports, and then Parli Pro with Gabe. Mitt is with. Okay, so the mock session is October 3rd, 2:30 to 6 p.m. No, 6:30 actually. It's supposed to be 4 full hours. We will begin promptly at 2:30. So showing up early would benefit you greatly. Because once I assign you a country, as you'll find out very shortly through Gabriel, we will start by going through an alphabetical list of all the countries that are possibly could be present. So if your name is not called, you then have to be really embarrassed. So definitely be on time. Again, dress as casual. You'll be assigned a country later this week. We'll do some kind of dinner thing and then my house for that. You're not required to go to this one, but it will be for points. If you stay all 4 hours, you get 50 points. If you only stay 3 of the hours, you get 30 points. So there's a whole extra 20 points for staying 1 more hour. And if you leave early, it impedes everyone else because then you can't collaborate because you're not there. The social aspect, food and parties will be fun. This is the same thing from last time, and that link is this link, which was actually a capital L for capital L. If your name is on here and you don't want it to be on here, you should tell us now. And if your name is not on here and it's supposed to be on there, and it's not, you should also tell us now. Anyone? Bueller?
I'm not going on Saturday, but I think that's already.
Yeah, I copied this from last week. So yes, that's good. Okay, so if you're going to NASCAR at all, you have to fill out the form. The form is, it's the same information we're just getting from them.
What? Oh,
Never mind.
It hasn't changed.
It's the same, okay, so just fill out the
Just trying to
form
get
if
it
you're
all.
going, and you have to fill out your full name, and you have to, don't close that because it locks. Yes, so you have to fill out the form to make sure that everybody has a ride there, because if you don't have a ride and I don't know you need a ride, it's gonna get really confusing. More or less we'll meet at a parking lot on Daisy Hill, etc. And if you're off campus, we'll pick you up. Somebody with a car will pick you up. Yes. But the closer we get to that date, probably a few days before, I'll give everybody a map and a PDF and a waypoint and everything you need to know to get there and who you're picking up and when and everything. So the faster you fill out that top one, the faster you will know everything else. I think this is a summation, no, judicial board. We've had 2 people apply for the judicial board last I checked. We need 3 minimum. So if you do it, you've got a pretty much 100% chance. Anyway, so that's on the board as well. Pardon? I'll figure it out. Yes, so this is the summation of all of this information, but a bit much. Does anyone here not have a Facebook?
No, those people didn't get it.
Not have a Facebook. Okay, so then this will work really, really well. Because this mock session ID will take you to the Facebook event. You sign up for the Facebook event. tomorrow or the next day. Actually, as you sign in, so if you sign in tonight, I'll tell you tomorrow. If you sign in tomorrow, I'll tell you the next day. If you sign in tomorrow and say that you're going to the event, I will send you your country, and then Gabriel will post the topics, which we will send to you as well. So the faster you do that, the more likely we are to get a decent country. I'm figuring out how I'm going to do this and how much I hate people. Somebody's going to get getting this up. Casual dress, Gabe is chair, me and Lainey will be the judges / critique, but we'll also be there to help you for informal questions, which you will have a lot of informal questions. I will guarantee at least one of you will ask, where the hell are we? That's what the flow chart's for, it's coming up. 3 topics from Trojan Mun's list, and you are required to have a base understanding of all 3. I will let you have laptops and tablets and use of the internet, assuming Jayhawk Wi-Fi is an asshole on Saturday, that will allow you to continue research, get documents, and work collaboratively. So, that's the thing. Judicial board, you need to submit before the 4th, or we're just going to ratify the Constitution. And also, importantly, in points, if you've been doing office hours and not reporting your office hours, you won't get points. And so on the 5th, when we send out everyone's email to everybody and go, hey, you're invited to LA, and you're like, why not me? Because I did 20 hours of cubicle hours and you didn't submit points, and it's your fault. So, if you do points, point-worthy things, submit it. And then we're going to go through next executive board meeting and parse out everybody that's not a member in good standing. And then we're going to parse out everybody that doesn't have enough points and just send out a nice chunk of emails. So, expect an email either on the 4th or the 5th. I might have a system actually. So, yes. So we'll choose by the 4th on midday, top 12 point earners that are members in good standing. They may confirm or deny, and they have until the 6th to respond before they'll be automatically denied from the first round. So, check your email. As people deny, more emails will be sent out, and it goes down the list until all the spots are taken. And then those chosen will be informed immediately, and by 10/8, we should have everybody submitted into a separate form for what council they want to go into while we're at LA. And then a folder system will be created and populated with information regarding your council. We're going to pay our stuff either today. Did we pay it today?
No, we have the appointment tomorrow.
We're going to pay it tomorrow. So, we're going to get the stuff tomorrow and then populate it later. You're also going to be given a get out of class form. That's the issue with starting this so early, is you don't really know if you're going or not, even though you have less than a month to basically tell your teacher, hey, I'm not going to be able to be in class on this day. So, sorry about that, we'll write it in. It's going to be a really fancy PDF document with mine and Gabe's and Carmen's signature on it that says, hey, this person needs to be let out of class because this is a university-sponsored event, ... If they have any questions, they can email me or you or Carmen, and we'll set them straight. They might say no. They still might say no. They might be like, you can go if you want, but I'm not going to let you retake the test, which has happened and is a shitty thing that teachers will do. So, yeah. I'll try and get that out as fast as possible once we know. It shouldn't take more than a day to make. Depending on how fancy Gabe wants to. Current events, you can do the thing.
Oh, I was told.
That GIF definitely works better normally. Alright, so cyberbullying. It's a good movie though. It's like if you don't cry, then what would you? Okay, so what is cyberbullying? Cyberbullying could be limited to posting rumors or gossips about a person on the internet. Basically, it's anything you do online that's mean to someone else. Basically. It can range from just like something simple like Calling someone stupid is technically cyberbullying, or telling someone to, kill themselves and posting like really mean videos online. Anyway. Cyberstalking versus cyberbullying. They're pretty much the same thing. Cyberstalking means it's using it like adults. Cyberbullying is children. Same thing, different name. Alright, I think this is, yep. Popular examples of cyberbullying. The movie Unfriended. Gamergate was all about cyberbullying. Trolling, entire League of Legends community, revenge porn is cyberbullying. The whole Amanda Todd thing that happened, and the movie Cyberbullying.
Is Unfriended a serial killer movie?
It's a terrible
No.
one. That's the only
It's-
word you need.
Okay, somebody is cyberbullied, commits suicide, her ghost comes back and kills everybody that was cyberbullying her.
Oh.
That's the
Spoilers.
synopsis of the movie.
Why is
Literally
the,
just like watching 6 people.
why is the
die.
entire community of League of Legends in this?
Have you played League of Legends?
Never.
Then you, if you
I've
play,
seen
you
people
understand.
play
Oh,
it,
I
though.
didn't.
Put like Xbox.
Alright.
No, it's a computer game.
Anyway, so why is cyberbullying a thing? We don't see the other person, the person on the other end, so it's just like not really a
White
person to
color.
us, so we're just
That was me.
really mean. But the other person really does feel like the same pain as if they're being bullied in person. Can lead to depression, self-harm, suicide, all sorts of very, very bad things. Okay, what's the UN doing? Well, we have the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. No one shall be subjected to torture or cruel, inhumane, or degrading treatment. Cyberbullying is torture or cruel, inhumane, or degrading treatment. Also, recently, I can't remember what exactly released, Combating Cyber Violence Against Women and Girls, a worldwide wake-up call that called for a 3-point, fix it for cyberbullying with sensitization, safeguards, and sanctions. Basically. Alright. Most laws about just regular bullying, which there are a lot of. You can get in a lot of trouble for bullying someone. They're just generally not enforced. They extend to cyberbullying. A few states, I don't think Kansas has any, have specific laws for cyberbullying. These usually come around when somebody has been cyberbullied and commits suicide in that state, and the state's just like, oh crap, we need to actually do something about it now. Until then, they generally don't. Alright, so, why would the UN specifically address women and girls? Why wouldn't they address just cyberbullying in general? The name of it was specific to women and girls. Yes.
It's the same question as why was Gamergate fixated on women gamers? It's an atypical population, although they make up over half of the gamers in society.
Basically. There's more to Gamergate than that though. It basically came about because of sexism in the gaming community.
In the culture, and so it's directed online too.
I was gonna say it disproportionately affects them, so.
Yeah.
It doesn't though.
What?
It doesn't. Yes. But the thing is, women are more likely to report these things. Men just kind of deal with it because they're supposed to. Which is stupid. Okay? What can we do as far as laws go? We slowly make laws when things happen, but why aren't we trying to make preventative law the same as happening elsewhere?
I think it's probably because people don't think it's a real issue.
It's been proven time and time again.
But that
A lot
doesn't mean
of
that people don't think.
You see stuff on Facebook and it's like, how can you be cyberbullied and just turn off your computer? It's pretty ignorant.
Especially older people tend to have a disbelief that it really should be affecting people, even though it does. So governments don't feel they need to act until something bad happens.
But why aren't we looking at, okay, something bad happened in Illinois, why aren't we gonna do something so that this same thing doesn't happen here? Because it will.
Human nature. It's never gonna happen to me.
I'm going to be cynical. The legislators don't care what happened in Illinois because they don't get voted on by Illinois people. So.
Pretty simple. So how is this gonna work internationally? How are we gonna be able to stop, across international borders? And we can only do so much. What can we do?
Well, if you're talking about international, it's really difficult for the UN to address this because just like cyberbullying is, while it's a big problem, it's not the biggest cyber threat that a lot of people face today. Like even in the UN now, if someone in say Singapore hacks an American business out of $2 million, I mean just for example, America cannot prosecute the person in Singapore. Only the people within Singapore can prosecute the person. So when something like cyberbullying does come up and it does go across international borders, it's still there's so much left to be done in terms of cooperating among states in the international realm just for any sort of cyber attack or cyberbullying or anything like that, which just makes the whole dealing with the problem that more murky and difficult to deal with.
Yeah.
It's tough, especially when a lot of countries may not have anti-bullying laws in the first place, so cyberbullying would be an even tougher issue. So I would say it would have to be a group of countries that already have cyberbullying laws that come together, maybe within the UN, to create some sort of international agreement. But that's tough.
Really? Hey David, where did you come from?
All right.
Well, I actually
That was a butt fact.
Sorry about that.
From where do you come?
Hey. Yeah. Okay. So parliamentary procedure, the basics. We're going to go over it relatively quickly because what we've found in the past is that if we overwhelm you guys with information, it's tough. Because Parli Pro is sometimes something you can only learn once you get into committee and see how the flow of debate goes. So I'm just going to teach you guys some of the basic points and motions that you're going to need to understand what's going on around you and enable you to talk in front of the chair and hopefully bring home a W for your delegation. All right, so this is parliamentary procedure, but I've condensed it quite a bit. You're going to get this later on.
He stole it.
Yeah. Right now, this is probably you. Hopefully by the end of the PowerPoint, it'll be a little bit better. So going with the flow. Basically, the way parliamentary procedure works and how the whole conference is going to commence is that you're going to start by opening debate and setting an agenda. The way you would go about doing this is you're going to get a placard when you get into committee and you're going to raise your placard and you're going to go, usually it's going to go motion to set the agenda. We don't have LA's official rules yet, but usually a pretty good indicator is that most conferences are going to go with setting the agenda. That means that you're going to have to choose which topic you talk about. In most of the committees you get to, you're going to have two topics of choice that your delegation can decide to talk about. Let's say you're in a committee like DISEC, where you're dealing with either biological terrorism or you're dealing with a humane crisis in Africa. If you're Russia, you're probably going to want to talk about biological weapons because you probably don't give a shit about the humanitarian crisis in Africa because you are Russia. So what you would want to do is go motion to set the agenda to talk about topic B and then proceed to topic A, which would enable you to talk about biological weapons or biological warfare if you are Russia. And this is actually a big point in the conference. Not only is it the first motion you're going to make, but it sets the floor for how you're going to debate. And oftentimes, if you raise your placard and you get called on first for setting the agenda, you get to be one of the pros or cons for talking about whether the agenda should be set this way or should not set this way. And this is where you would lay the groundwork. You're going to talk about why this issue is important and hopefully within that opening speech, tailor it to say this topic is important and then work in how it's important to your country. That way they can see that you're on policy with the country you represent, and just a basic knowledge of the topic. This one's pretty easy. It's a roll call. you're going to get in and you're going to have to either say present or voting, or you won't be in committee, in which case I will promptly send you home. Because if you're not in committee, you're not helping us win, and you're also just not participating in the conference. That's not cool. However, you can do some cool things. Present and voting. I want all of you to say present when you go in. Never say present in voting, because there is an option to abstain when you vote on resolutions. But if you said present in voting and then you decide to abstain, then that's a big no-no. Someone can pull a point of order on you, which we will get into later, and the chair will notice that you kind of fudged up and said you would be voting and then decided to abstain. Big no-no. So that one's pretty easy, but you can do some pretty cool parliamentary maneuvering with it and make hopefully the other delegations look like they don't know what they're doing and make you look smart. So that's basically the start. Now, the most important part, without a doubt, is speaking. If you don't get up and speak and make your points known to the chair and the other delegates around you, then what the hell are you there for? So there are a few basic maneuvers that we need you to know going into the conference. That's setting up a moderated caucus, an unmoderated caucus, and getting on the speakers list. The speakers list is probably what's going to happen first. You're going to set the agenda, and then you'll dive right into the speakers list. They'll say all those looking to be added to the speakers list, and you will raise your placard. And if you get on the speakers list, I'm sure as you've figured out, you get up and you speak about the issue and what you want to be done about it, what your country's position is on it. Eventually, you're going to move out of the speakers list, and this is where you kind of have to get a feel where debate is going. Once you feel like you've kind of exhausted everything you can talk about on the speakers list, the thing you should do right away is raise your placard and go motion for a moderated caucus of 10 minutes with 30-second speaking time. Basically, that means 20 delegations will be able to get up and speak for 30 seconds about their views on the issues, and once again, just keep debate going, and keep it flowing, and keep the ideas just flowing throughout the room. So you really need to know that. By the way, any questions so far, you can stop me at any point. This is a lot of information we're throwing at you, so if you've got questions, I wouldn't be surprised. No? Oh, Allison?
Wouldn't it be like, what, such and such country moves for a modern caucus? Or is that just like,
Well,
for if you're doing something else?
That can, most of the time, what Allison's talking about is when you get up and speak, don't address it as I feel about this issue. Say you're Qatar or Saudi Arabia, you would want to go Saudi Arabia feels or Qatar feels. But for the most part, they're not going to be upset if you just raise your placard and say motion for a 10-minute moderated caucus with 30-second speaking time. If you want to say your country, no problem with that. And also it adds a little bit of name recognition, you know, when you raise your placard and you know, then if they keep hearing your name and or your country's name, and you keep motioning for moderated caucuses, it just gets drilled into the mind of the chair, who's essentially running the debate, that you know you're there and you're there to talk. So that's not a bad idea at all, actually. And then the one other caucus that you need to know about is unmoderated. This is basically controlled chaos, if controlled at all. What you're going to want to do is, if you feel like the ideas have been exhausted and you're ready to get working on a working paper and start interacting with the delegates around you to build coalitions, this is what you would motion for, an unmoderated caucus with a time of, say, 20 minutes to just gather your coalition, meet the delegates around you, and sort of speak in an informal environment, and usually this is when you get a lot of shit done. Moderated caucuses is just people talking about the issues. Unmoderated caucus is what you do to build coalitions and actually solve the problem. The reason you don't ask for speaking time on this is because committee is basically dismissed for those 20 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever you motion for. And you just talk and converse with the delegates and keep the ideas flowing in a much more relaxed, well, it's not relaxed, it's actually kind of chaos, but in a much more informal environment. Another big thing, notes. You can pass notes in committees. This is basically if the first person goes up and says something that's in accordance with what your country believes. Say you're Saudi and the UAE, United Arab Emirates, gets up. Most likely they're going to have a lot of the same views as you. An example of a note you might write is, great speech, Saudi Arabia. You should come and talk to us once this moderated caucus is over. And then before the unmoderated caucus even starts, you're already building that coalition and kind of setting up a block. Any questions? No? All right, cool. Huh?
Go over everything you just said, just do it really fast.
Okay, moderated caucuses, structured debate, set speaking time. Speakers list, you just get up there and you speak, and you actually, once you get taken off, once you speak on the speakers list, you get taken off. As soon as you speak off of the speakers list, write a note up to the chair and say, I'd like to be put on the speakers list. That way you're getting up there and talking as much as possible. On moderated caucuses, informal debate and just kind of conversing with other delegates. Notes, a way to kind of jump the gun and get into coalitions early. Yes?
When you're setting the agenda in the very beginning stages, do they allot minutes for the amount of time that there'd be moderated caucuses or speakers? Or
No. Setting the agenda, you just go in there, you say, I feel this way about this subject, or I feel like we should talk about this subject as opposed to this subject first. That's all you're doing. You will have 2 speakers for and 2 against setting the agenda some certain type of way. Depending on what the chair does, he might ask for a moderated caucus to, talk about whether or not you want to set the agenda said way or the other way. But for the most part, you'll just motion to set the agenda a certain way, and that should be the end of it. Unless your chair really wants you guys to mull it out. If there's if it's 50-50, they might ask for a moderated caucus so more people can talk and more people can switch to one side from the other. So it's not so split down the middle. Anything else? Cool. Points and, oh, come on, that was an awesome game.
Can you describe it again?
Yeah, it was the people from Always Sunny just pointing at Frank. If you've ever seen the intervention episode where they just trap him and point at him and yell at him, I thought it was pretty funny. All right, the point system. This one's a little bit easier to understand. Point of order is a big one. If someone misuses parliamentary procedure in a way like, say, they just shouted out without being called on, or if they declared that they would abstain when they said they were present and voting, you would go, whoa, 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 point of order, and you would say, this delegate was out of order because they did said action. And that makes you look really smart in front of the chair. Usually, you can catch these missteps pretty easily if you just pay attention to what's going around on or amongst the other delegates around you. And it can be actually a really good tool of showing the chair that you're knowledgeable and kind of setting yourself above the competition. Point of inquiry is just if you don't understand the rules or you're not quite sure what's going on with the moderated caucus, like how much time is left and if you'll be able to speak, that's when you would shout for a point of inquiry. That's just kind of your, I guess, your fallback if you don't know what's going on in committee. Just throw up a point of inquiry and the chair will be more than happy to answer your question. Because at one point or another, no matter how long you've been in MUN, something's going to happen in committee where you're going to be confused and there will be something going on that just doesn't quite make sense to you. So that's when you would want to use a point of inquiry. Point of personal privilege, you might not see this a lot in the bigger committees, but I just threw it in here because most of the time it will either be point of personal privilege, and if you're in a room of 10 people, you might just say point of personal privilege, I need to use the bathroom, or point of personal privilege, I can't hear the person talking, like if they're talking into a mic, but you know, they're not so good at public speaking and they're speaking really quietly. You might want to go point of personal privilege, I can't hear the delegate. Just basic things like that that will make committee a little bit more functional. Any questions on that? Yeah?
You just yell those out.
No.
You raise your hand.
No. Point of order you absolutely can yell out. Point of inquiry, if you feel like you really need to know right then, the chair will understand. But if it's something, you know, just petty and just weird like that, don't annoy the chair because then they'll get annoyed with you and they won't be very happy. And point of personal privilege, I mean, if you're in a 10-person committee and you're about to die and you need to use the bathroom, go ahead. Yes, Mitch?
You don't need to ask to use the bathroom.
I've been to conferences where you have to.
I haven't
It might be-
never.
Alright, well, might be, we don't know.
You're
We don't know
standing
what's
up in
gonna
front
be.
of hundreds of international students. Can I tinkle?
That's what I mean,
That's
that's
what I'm
why
saying.
Damon point of personal privilege
stand up
might
and
not
walk
be
out.
for the big committees. If you're in a committee of like 10 people, might be the case.
So you
Yeah?
don't just shout them out, how do you bring them up?
Huh?
How do you bring them up?
Raise your placard, you'll get called on.
The chair also asks if there are any points or questions. So,
Alright.
like, almost gone.
Alright, this one is a little bit more complicated. Again, an awesome gift. It was the reverse funnel system from Always Sunny. Working papers and resolutions. Working papers are when you're drawing up a resolution and have it in the works and if it hasn't been voted on yet, it's not a resolution. Everything up until you vote is a working paper. So if you're done with your paper and you want to get it in and you want to get people talking about it and get the ideas of your paper out there, you would go, motion to introduce working paper 1.1 or working paper whatever you might have called it. You can make it a fun name or an acronym. Don't make it too rowdy though, otherwise they'll be pretty unhappy. Friendly amendments. These ones are pretty easy. Say you realize that you misspelled Ertracia, which actually, it happens a lot. You might want to go, motion for a friendly amendment to the resolution, correct the spelling of Ertracia. Or it could be something as complicated as like your coalition got together once the resolution was done. All the sponsors of the paper, which are the writers, want to include another clause to the resolution. You would go motion to introduce the friendly amendment. And then, Mitch, do you vote on that or not? The friendly amendment, usually you don't have to vote on it.
Usually, if everybody agrees on it,
Yeah,
the chair will implement it immediately,
yeah, there you go.
especially if it's a spelling issue.
Yeah. The other one that I guess PowerPoint just destroyed is unfriendly amendments. This is one that will come from probably the coalition you're working against or one of the coalitions you're working against, where they're going to try to introduce a poison amendment into the resolution that the sponsors do not agree with. And that's when you're going to have to go into debate about the amendment and have 2 speakers for and 2 speakers against again and kind of hash it out. And then you'll vote on it once you've pleaded your case to the entire delegation. And hopefully, if it's your resolution, the poison amendment won't get in, and if it's not, then you get the poison amendment in and you look pretty good in front of the chair. This one's a little bit more complicated, but it can make committee a ton of fun and just ruin someone's resolution, which is usually pretty good for you. Dividing the question. Dividing the question is the idea. Yeah, Landon? I love dividing the question. Dividing the question can come up once the papers are in. Say you wanted to sort of vote on each amendment in particular, you would go motion to divide the question by clauses, and you would vote on each individual clause, and it can bring debate to a screeching halt and ruin one of your opponent's resolutions. But if your resolution is up there and someone motions to divide the question, you want to shoot that down immediately, get all of your group together and say, we can't let this happen, and shoot that down. But if you're in a tough spot, dividing the question might be the way to go. And that's where scheming comes in. That's the scheming and whatnot. Also a great way to scheme is limiting debate. When I was at Boston, my partner was Lauren, and we were talking about terrorism and militants, and Yemen was in our committee. Around this time, Yemen was going through its first or actually just the very start of the revolution where it had overthrown its leader and he had fled to, I can't remember where he fled to, but Yemen did not want to talk about militants at all because it was just an absolute mess in Yemen. So what they did is they smartly motioned to limit debate to rule out any clauses about militants. And just like that, somehow it passed, and just like that, any resolution or any clause that had to do with militants, any clause like that got thrown out of debate. They could not include it in their in their working paper, and essentially their working paper was reduced to a pile of rubble, which was actually pretty good for us because we were Qatar, but for Saudi and everyone like them, they had a real tough time not talking about militants for the rest of the conference, and Yemen actually ended up winning the award largely in part because they were able to limit debate to not talk about militants, which was a really good move by them. It should be a useful tool if once again you find your back up against the wall. Any questions about those? Those are kind of complicated, so I mean, you can throw any questions at me if you've got them. I would be surprised if you weren't confused. Alright. And with those movements and motions and points, hopefully you can manipulate parliamentary procedure to win-win-win, as Michael Scott would say. You put yourself in that sort of a situation, and hopefully brings home some hardware for our delegation and leave Trojan Run like champs. Again, any questions? That was pretty brief, but mostly I just want you guys to know the basics so you can get ready and get into committee ready to kick ass. And then, you know, you can just figure out how committee flows by on your own, and you can make it work for you. Yeah?
Sorry, can we go over dividing the question really quick one more time?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Alright. There you go. Dividing the question. So, what part of dividing the question didn't you understand? Or just not any of it?
I just didn't really hear it. I was.
Oh, that's fine. Dividing the question. This is basically a point where you can screw over another working paper.
It's not meant to screw over. People just misuse it.
When
It's
have you
to
seen
say-
someone use divide the question?
I've used divide the question to not be a dick. What it is, it's when you're like, I would totally vote for this, and it sounds like a good resolution, except for there's one entire hereby clause that just doesn't make sense, or Saudi Arabia definitely wrote that one thing and you're just not a fan of it. You can divide the question, get that cut out, and put it together in a better way so that more people will like it. Not just to cut it into segmented little bits and screw people over. Don't do that. Don't be a terrible person, or I will hunt you down. Because that is a good way to get thrown out. They will call into question your integrity of being there if you just continually screw people over. There are people that do that. I have yelled at many of them. They would sit there, well, I just want to divide the question. I don't know what you guys are talking about. No, I know what the hell you're talking about. Don't divide the question unless you think it's completely necessary. And you have people that completely agree with you and it makes sense. Rant over.
There you go. Any other questions? No? Alright, cool.
Can I just have a, when you divide the question, is there an option to just like vote on one part of it, or do you have to go through the whole thing?
Dividing,
You go.
would that be more of an unfriendly, I feel like that would be more of an amendment though.
Ask
I
the
guess.
question again, please.
I don't know, just,
She's saying if you wanted to
If you
just
divide the
strike a
question-
particular clause out, you could add like a friendly or an unfriendly amendment.
you gotta go
also.
through the whole thing if you divide the question.
You have to go through all of the hereby clauses when you divide the question.
Okay.
So if there are 4 of them, it could be pretty easy if you want to get rid of 3. Other than that, an unfriendly amendment is by far your best bet. So,
So I have a question.
yes,
In an unfriendly amendment, then you can ask to strike out something and put something else in.
yes. When you fill out an amendment form, it will have what you want to take out and what you want to replace it with. You can do several things at once. Here, I'll still. So basically, you can easily change something like, good lord. It's just a small segment of text that you think should be changed. So instead of saying requires that all countries yada yada, it says requests that all countries yada yada yada. A simple change like that can easily be an unfriendly amendment. Or you could just take out an entire hereby clause, you can take out an entire line, you can change their numbers, you can say, I don't think the World Bank should give $100,000, I think they should give $3,000, stuff like that. That would be an unfriendly amendment. A friendly amendment would easily be something like, you put Mexico instead of the United States of Mexico, that sort of thing. Okay. Mother of America. Okay. For the rest of the period, which will be about 45 minutes, and it will take a very significant amount of time. Leave if you absolutely need to, but this will be incredibly helpful. Gabe is going to lead us, and we're going to start from the very beginning. This is the flow chart. Here we go. There's two parts. We're probably only going to focus on part one. You should go to there on your telephones and get it out because it's going to be real helpful. Or he can pull it up on the telephone screen. So, again, typically when we start, you're going to come in, you're going to sit down, you're going to grab a look. Oh, I'll just stand in your way. You're going to grab a cup of coffee if they have it. Maybe Starbucks is around. Sounds kind of nice. You're going to sit there and you're going to wait until everybody's seated, and then they will ask the secretary to roll.
Wait, I think this is the
Yeah, the second one comes first. It's meant to be intentionally confusing. So you start with the attendance. This is before the open discussion section. They will just call through the attendance and you say present or present and voting, period. That's it. If you come in late, if you overslept, that happens. Life happens. I just looked at the chart, the schedule for New York MUN. On one of them, they have everyone scheduled as committee sessions from 7:30 in the morning to 11:30 at night. So, bam! Yeah, it's going to be lots of fun. Okay, so we're going to start with opening discussion. We just did attendance. Gabe's going to lead us as the chair, and I'm going to sit back here and just call on hateful comments. Oh, if you want to say something and you have a motion and you put your hand up, he's going to point to you. You're going to say your first name, and that'll be your country. Does that make sense?
Can I say the Republic?
Nope. You ain't got no Republicer. Okay.
Okay, quorum delegates. Looking for, or actually, should we do roll call or?
Nope.
Yep. All right. Looking for points or motions. Yes, Nation of Blue Shirt.
Dylan,
Dylan.
motion to set agenda.
Okay, that is very much in order. In what order would you like to set the agenda? We have FGM and landmine usage.
FGM.
What is FGM?
FGM, okay, I'll pause. I was going to do a point of information. Okay, chill out.
Decorum, thank you.
So here's a key feature of if something funny happens, don't laugh at it. It's kind of helpful to laugh, but your chair will immediately hate you. Okay, FGM is female genital mutilation. In many parts of the world, it is characteristic to modify a woman's genitalia when they are children to disallow proper sexual experiences and hinder their ability to procreate, or at least have pleasure from procreation. It's typically referred to as a cultural practice, although if you talk to anybody in UN Women, they'll tell you that culture and women are very different things and you shouldn't look to culture to represent women adequately. A lot of people have characterized it similarly to circumcision in men, but circumcision, you still have all the feeling. So it's not the same at all. But FGM is fairly popular still in most parts of the country. Any questions regarding that?
Most parts of the world.
Okay. Not most parts of the world, but
A lot of areas in Africa.
a lot of Africa and Middle Eastern countries. I've only ever heard it specifically debated in the context of Africa, the northern part of Africa. So, any other questions regarding that?
It's also in Southeast Asia a little bit.
Truth. Knowing things like that are super helpful because then when somebody from Southeast Asia comes up and says, well, we don't do that in my country, you say, well, yes, you do. Yes. So, FGM, so you have FGM versus landmine usage. I know I kind of squiggled that out. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Landmine usage in what context?
Landmine use is in the context of war. Should a country be able to put landmines down on their territory? Period. Any other questions? Okay, continue.
Okay. In what order would you like the agenda to be set?
Landmine usage first and then FGM second.
What you would say is topic B followed by topic A, just
Okay.
for future reference.
Gotcha.
Nice job, though. All right, that's very much in order. I'm gonna have 2 speakers for and 2 against. 2 speakers for, please.
Doesn't he have to?
Do I have to
doesn't
speak?
Dylan
Yes, you have to speak for it.
Oh, okay, well.
Not yet, we have to set the.
Yeah, sorry about that.
I'm just letting you know.
I
An inquiry,
mean,
was it topic B, then topic
Yeah.
yes.
A? Okay.
Thank you, Delegate.
We're speaking for landmine usage?
You're speaking for the agenda to be set to landmine usage first and then FGM.
Do you agree with that?
That was just bureaucratic,
Two
it's
people
literally
are
talking about what we're
arguing
gonna
A,
talk
and
Yeah.
about.
then 2 other people are gonna argue A.
The UN is very efficient. You're learning that pretty quickly. Yes. All right, but I do still need 1 speaker for and 2 speakers against, though, to continue debate. Raise your hands.
I'll speak for.
Delegate, I have yet to call on you. Delegate J. Hawkbuddy, what's your name?
Okay, yeah, David.
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 And I will represent, yes.
You're speaking for? Okay, I still need 2 speakers against. Yes, 21 pilots, and Dan, what's your name?
So what key motion
Q?
is that the order to
Q.
Decorum, delegates!
Decorum!
Topic A second.
All right.
So what he's talking about
We will
is
first
that order.
recognize the nation of
Dylan.
So we want to talk about topic B first.
All right, Dylan, you have the floor.
Okay, so I think that, since
Not you, Dylan thinks.
I'm Dylan.
He's Dylan.
Yeah, I know.
Speaking for person.
You can't, you have to speak in third
Oh,
person.
so I'd say Dylan.
Yeah.
The nation of Dylan.
Okay. So, the nation of Dylan thinks that, landmine usage is more.
Decorum, delegates, we have a delegate talking. Thank you.
Is more broader and popular to most countries here, so we would like to discuss that first, and then further delve into FGM second.
Okay, thank you, delegate. Now may I have one of the speakers against, Hugh?
The reason I would like to motion for topic A over topic B is because although landmine usage is a pertinent topic which would apply to a lot of different countries, I think it would be more prudent if we were talking about female genital mutilation because it affects more of the population as far as women go versus men versus just warring countries.
Okay, thank you very much, Dylan. All right.
You.
There is Hugh. Yeah. All right, other speaker forward, please.
The country of David believes that landmine should be before female genital mutilation because it is a wartime act and is something that many countries may deal with, so it's a priority issue.
Okay, thank you very much. Nation of 21 pilots, you are now recognized.
I motion for topic A over topic B because it is a serious global issue affecting essentially half the population in a multitude of countries. It's against human rights that we recognize, so that's why I motion for topic A.
All right, excellent job, but just for future reference, you cannot motion for something when you are speaking. I understood what you were saying in context, but just, when you're in committee, just try to remember that.
And also don't say I. Why don't we just come up with country names, like randomly, or just a
Country
joke
balance.
country?
Yeah.
Because people are usually the same.
I don't give a hoot, just choose a country.
Okay.
And if you, I have no idea if you're on policy or off policy, so just use a country. Makes it easier. Okay. Any other points or motions on the, decorum delegates? Any other points or motions on the floor? If there are none, we will move into voting procedure on, do we really,
Do you have
we'll
to
set the
motion
speakers
to
list
call-
after this.
Do you motion for the vote? Does someone have to motion for the vote?
Unless there are no other motions on the floor, in
Okay.
which case we'll go into voting procedure. He is required, though, to ask 3 separate times for a motion before he is allowed to move on.
So we would say motion to call the question.
This is also not motioned in anywhere but the Senate.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
If
Okay.
you do this, they're gonna be like, what the hell are you doing?
Oh, we don't have
Wait, you
placards,
can't do
but
this?
yeah. You put up your
No, don't
placard.
do this. You may
It's
hold
not
it,
the
just hold up your
same.
hand.
Just raise your hand.
You put
Okay.
up a placard.
Any other points or motions? If not, we will move into voting procedure on Dylan's motion to set the agenda of topic B over topic A.
I have an inquiry.
Yes.
If the delegates didn't like the arguments made in that, and somebody wanted to make another argument, one way or the other, could that happen?
Yes, that is when if you really want to delay the procedure and keep talking because it seems like the vote's not going to go your way, you would then motion for a moderated caucus to keep discussing on how you want the agenda to be set. And then hopefully maybe you can sway some people and get your coalition building. Okay, any other points or motions? Any other points or motions? Yes.
Point of inquiry, if like you're the United Kingdom, do you have to say the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland?
No, just say the United Kingdom, or even say, I've even seen people use the UK. And the judges are not gonna fault you for that. Yes?
Point of inquiry, do both topics get addressed throughout the day, or is it like?
It depends.
Okay.
It really depends on who your chair is. You could run into a chair who loves bureaucracy for whatever reason, and it feels like a lot of MUN chairs really do, and you'll spend the entire weekend talking just about one topic.
That's way
And
more
that'll be the way
typical.
that it goes. And if not, so that's why you really gotta be prepared for both topics, because you could spend the entire weekend just debating one of the topics that you didn't think you were gonna talk about, and instead you're stuck in committee for 4 days discussing something you neither researched or even had a basic understanding of. Okay, so seeing no other points or motions, we will now move into voting procedure on setting the agenda of topic B, proceeding to topic A. All those in favor, please raise your hands or placards. All those against? Well, shit, okay. All right, seeing that this vote failed, we will now refer to the speakers list to keep debate on this subject going forward, as clearly there are no other points, or actually, you know what, are there any other points or motions on the floor? Okay, got, just for the record, 9 of you voted for this not to be the agenda. So 9 of you want to talk about FGMs first. One of you 9, when this happens, should have motioned for the agenda to be set to go from topic A to topic B. That is what you should do if the agenda is not set the way you like it.
If there's, I would say you should only do that if there are more than 2. Because with this, automatically, if you chose topic B, then if you didn't choose topic A, then you would automatically choose topic B, because it's a dichotomy. Because you can't just not choose either or choose both.
Exactly.
So you're saying if it failed, we would automatically do topic A
Yes.
first?
That's obviously
That is
the
true.
reason to.
Okay, so
But
then
if there
maybe
are
it's
more,
a
then you
9
would
to
have to do a new
If you
vote.
have 3, you would have to definitely have someone else do a completely separate
So he,
motion.
wait, okay, so he said he wanted topic B and A. At what point do you motion for A
You
You
should have
don't.
done that right at,
after him?
yeah, usually you want a motion for that right after he motions.
I vote, it depends on where you come from. With mine, it's always been, okay, if you guys don't do this, we're going straight into this. His might have been another time waster.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna start putting up people's names.
Yeah, who wants to speak?
what are
if
we
you-
even discussing now?
Yeah.
FGM now.
Okay, so the part where we're at right now is establish agenda, we're starting the speakers list, so a speaker must come up. A speaker should speak, don't do that. I need more whiteboard space.
So say that the agenda is
Can't do it.
officially set to be topic A first.
Yes. So now we would need somebody who is willing to speak on the topic of topic A for or against female genital mutilation.
Okay, but like, are we talking about just like in general, like
Yes.
this is what I know about female
Yes.
genital mutilation, or
You are
like,
talking about what you know
for or
from your
against,
country's
that's what you're
perspective and what you hope to accomplish at this conference.
Can you, like,
This is an extremely vague thing. the higher level you get in the conferences, you get up to the Security Council, you're gonna get stuff that's, what are we going to do about the eastern border of the Central African Republic? That's way smaller than female genital mutilation. So,
I'll do it. I'll speak on it.
Is there a time limit for how long you speak?
Oh, we didn't
typical
set
time
that.
limit is set most often by the conference, usually right around 2-minute speaking time.
And does it go pro con, or is it just whatever?
You can motion to increase.
At this point, it does not go pro con because it is not a debate.
Okay, so it's just like you're just talking.
We're on the speakers list. So the next logical point after we've had several speakers is to motion for a caucus. Then we'll all figure out what we're doing, and then you debate on ideas, you debate on working papers and amendments.
So
This is just a
You
speaker's
wouldn't
list.
want to like say reasons why the other people who are talking.
Yes, you
wouldn't-
can.
You wouldn't want
Yeah.
to?
Like, the whole point is anything you would actually say about this is what you would say when you're speaking.
Okay.
Anyone else? And if by anyone else I mean give me like 2 seconds and I'll start writing all of your names.
Do you want to set like a speaker's time for this?
Speaker's time is automatically set at 2 minutes. If you feel the need to change it, please make a motion.
Yes, country of Maine.
Making motions to set the speaker's time at 1 minute. Wow. A minute is a long time.
Yeah, there's no one will even go that
So
long
what
right
happens
now.
if you don't speak for the full time? That
You
means I
You
yield.
yield your time.
Okay, so it's just
You
like.
don't yield your time in a moderated caucus though. You yield your time in a speaker's list only.
Okay, so you don't have to.
Okay, alright, that motion, I guess,
Pretty big point.
yes.
So, as a speaker, if you're not gonna be saying a lot, you just kind of make sure you get your point out there, so that when you start caucusing, people know what your point of view is.
And that way you can see where the blocks are and what the coalitions are gonna start to look like, and you know who to pass notes to. Okay, Megan, we decided that your motion is very much in order. So seeing as this is a procedural motion, everyone must vote. All those in favor of moving the speaking time to, what did you say, 1 minute? 1 minute. All those in favor of 1 minute speaking time for the speakers list, please raise your hands. All right, this motion clearly passes. The speakers list has been limited to 1 minute as opposed to 2. Thank you, sir. Okay. The chair now recognizes Sarah Elliott.
Okay, so do I go up there?
Nope.
Nope, you can chill back there.
That's what we're gonna play for this time to save time is just stand up and talk.
Okay, so I think that the FGM is a really important issue that we need to discuss. It is incredibly harmful to the women that have to undergo it, and it is incredibly culturally pressured on these women. It's usually preteen girls who are not anesthetized, so they have to be strapped down while the doctor performs this procedure, which is not okay. I would like there to be some sort of program implemented by the UN that encourages education and reform in this cultural practice, as it gives a lot of psychological and bodily harm to these women. And yeah, I yield my time to questions, or do I just sit down?
You yield your time to the chair is what you would want to do.
I yield my time to the chair.
Okay.
Although you are also welcome to yield your time to questions.
And the chair can, sometimes the chair strikes it down and says, we will be taking questions at this time. Sometimes they'll allow you to take questions.
You. Pardon? Yeah, you're welcome.
United Kingdom would like to point out that some countries, other countries that practice this, believe it is a medical procedure. However, medical procedures are structured so that they benefit the person that they're performed on. There are no benefits to female genital mutilation. They're strictly to decrease pleasure and to prevent procreation. I yield my time to the chair.
Okay, excellent job, you. All right.
Catherine? Yes? No?
Point of, she left.
Oh.
Sorry.
Someone didn't want to talk about FGM. Okay.
She had a.
Okay.
point of inquiry,
Yes.
so what we're doing right now, when we're like saying is, since we're not having the physical debate, do you just say my country stance is this, or what are you trying to set, what do you want the agenda to look like?
So we've already set the agenda.
Right.
We're past setting the agenda. So what we're doing right now is you need to talk about what your country feels in regarding to FGM.
Okay.
And you are also welcome to lay out what you hope will be done. And so you can be like, hello, my country is the United Arab Emirates, and we really hope that this body will be able to pass a legislation that stops other individuals from committing FGM crimes because they're crimes against humanity, because they're crimes against women. And I encourage anyone else in this room to join me during an unmoderated caucus to create a working paper and a document to get this legislation passed.
Oh, that makes sense.
Anything else? Yes?
What if you agree with something that a previous person was talking about?
You can, you're
Echo
welcome
the
to say.
sentiments of what
Yeah, I echo the
people say
sentiments.
that constantly.
But God, if you echo every sentiment.
And also, once again, just going back to the name recognition thing, you don't always, like if you're working with someone and it seems like you two are near the top of the leaderboard for how committee is going, probably don't want to echo their sentiments, just pass the idea off as your own.
So if you're on the speakers list and you have nothing separate to say, right?
You can echo the sentiments or have an opinion and be original in some facet of life.
Okay.
Just bring up one small thing.
That sounds a little bit more harsh than it should be, but you can also be like, hey, everybody needs to come join me. We're gonna get the brick block together and we're going to, that's a thing, and we're going to get together and we're gonna write a resolution regarding it.
Or just the classic, we have a 3-point plan. And most of the time, those people don't have a 3-point plan, but they say it and people flock to them and caucus with them during the moderate caucus.
Any other things? Yeah.
The nation of Kenya obviously believes that FGM is not an appropriate way to handle yourself as a human being in relation to other human beings. As in the words of John Green, if people imagined each other with much more complexity, the world would be a better place. However, having said that, it is not okay for the nations such as the United Kingdom, the United States, and the Western nations as a general whole to condemn us nations, Sub-Saharan Africa, and the Arab region, and expect us to be able to deal with these problems with our lower infrastructure and our religious differences and our growing but still very small economies. So what we expect as nations is aid and help in sort of dealing with this problem on a global scale. And you'll go to my final chair.
That was awesome. You begged for money and you made yourself stand out. That was fantastic. All right.
Point of information, what I usually do during speeches is I take a legal pad with me and I write down as many things as, if they say anything interesting, like if they call out somebody or if they specifically talk to somebody or if they want a certain amount of money, I'll write that down. And it also helps to keep me, when I'm really bored and they're talking about something I just don't care about, it helps to doodle. You're up.
Alright, so the nation Joseph?
Pick any nation you'd like.
Any nation.
You can just be Joseph.
Is Kazakhstan represented in the UN?
Kazakhstan?
Oh,
Now it is.
Cool. So the nation of Kazakhstan believes that, well, among the types of female circumcision that type 3 must be more closely regulated, but not by the UN itself. We would support emotionally and ideologically the actions against this, but do not believe that it is of the world stage to determine. I yield the rest of our time to the chair.
Excellent.
This nation believes that the United Nations should work in an effort to dismiss those countries that have committed human rights abuses against the females who've undergone FGMs. At this point.
All right. Excellent job.
Try not to laugh as you end.
Yeah, it's like
And also,
What?
go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, my country, the United States, we deeply understand the cultural differences between Middle Eastern and African countries and the view of the world these days. And we understand that although the things are different, that people have to be held accountable for human rights and actions against humanity. So we are willing to extend aid to those countries looking for aid who have FGM crimes against their countries and are looking for other ways to help because of their lower economies or problems implementing that new rules. So I yield my time to the chair.
All right, excellent. All right, there are no speakers on the speakers list. And also, even if there were speakers on the speakers list at this point, it's pretty clear that two coalitions are forming. This is when one of you wants to step up and become the leader of the coalition and motion for a moderated caucus, if they're looking for motions. Just to know. All right, so now that the speakers list has been exhausted, I will now look for points or motions. All those wishing to be recognized, please raise your hands. Nation of Allison.
Allison moves to set a moderated caucus of 3 minutes for the purpose of discussing, further discussing the pros and cons of like different actions to combat female genital mutilation with a speaker's time of 30 seconds.
All right, I'm going to rule that in order at this time. Any other points or motions, delegates? Okay, seeing none, we will move into voting procedure on Allison's motion for a 3-minute, 30-second speaking time moderated caucus to discuss the pros and cons of FGMs. Is that correct? Okay. Seeing as this is a procedural matter, all delegates must vote. All those in favor of Allison's motion, please raise your hands. This motion clearly passes.
Point of inquiry.
Yes.
Is that 3 minutes and 30 seconds in total?
No.
No.
3 minutes cut into 30-second speaking times.
So 6
Oh,
speakers
okay.
together.
No,
No?
not technically.
So
So-
6 speakers who have 30 seconds each, totaling 3 minutes.
However many speakers are with 30 seconds.
So, if this represents 3 minutes, it could be that these segments are times when people get to speak for 30 seconds. But the entire caucus will take 3 minutes. That's it. If only 3 people speak, that's that. If one person speaks and you have a discussion, whatever, that's fine. If you could get 6 people in, I dare you. But there will be time in between people shuffling to the godforsaken microphone. So more likely than not, you'll get 4 or 5.
Nation of Allison, seeing as you made this motion, would you like to be the first to speak?
Yes. Can I be a country? Help me think. Okay, I'll be Mexico.
Okay.
Mexico feels that female genital mutilation has been a growing issue in recent years. It's actually become even more common recently, and our efforts to combat it have not worked. So I think Mexico feels that we need to further fund the programs we already have in place to combat this issue, and we need to expand them to other regions that are also experiencing FGM, which we haven't acknowledged as heavily in the past. I yield my time.
Okay. Also, just, you don't need time during
That was
the
gonna be bullshit,
conversation.
that's not true, I'm really sorry.
No, yeah.
But-
Oh, what do you
Person-
do in moderate caucus?
Okay, so
Yeah.
we're gonna go over real quick what moderated versus unmoderated is. Unmoderated caucus is essentially a recess where you're supposed to do things. So, moderated caucus is, think of it like a bubble, actually. Again, so if this outlier is the entire council, pretend that says council, a moderated caucus will take place within the council with us, led by Allison, and then the chair will be out here. The chair does not do anything inside a moderated caucus except for sit there and look pretty. Whoever moves for a moderated caucus is allowed to be the first one to be the chair of the moderated caucus, although they may also appoint another individual. So it's basically a tiny version of your Senate chamber within the larger Senate chamber. But it's easier to get through things a lot faster. Am I making sense? It's hard to kind of like, yes.
How does the next person start talking?
Yeah, that's.
It's like a popcorn sort of thing. So Allison would stand up and she would start to speak, and then she would go, who else would like to speak? And Alex raises his hand, and so then Alex, and then she goes, okay, and then Sarah, and then David.
Chair does.
Basically,
She
the person
becomes the
decides
chair.
Who gets to speak from that point?
And
That's
they're,
different than
Yeah,
any
when is
conference
that?
I've been to.
I've
but-
seen it be the chair and I've seen it be the person.
oh, okay.
You
I'm always
can
the person.
you can appoint the person and you can really appoint the chair.
Yes, you can do that. But
They would
also,
have a lot of control at that caucus then, because they
The-
would just put people in their block. That's
Yeah,
really interesting.
but, which is kind of the shitty reason. But the only reason you do a moderated caucus versus just letting things happen is because you can give it a topic. I want to have as Allison said, I want to have a moderated caucus for 3 minutes with 30-second speaking time per person over the context of what's positive and negative effects regarding FGM. So you have a topic. You can also specify like, I want to talk about where this money is coming from. That's it. That's all you talk about. If you talk about something else, point of order, and then you're shut off. That's why you do a mod versus non-mod. Bye, Allison.
Bye.
Okay. So we're on. Pardon?
Okay. Seeing as how Allison has abruptly left, all those wishing to speak,
I'll speak. Are we still in,
No, we're still doing unmoderated, or we're still doing moderated caucus. You don't have to have a speakers list, you just raise your hand when he says, do you want to speak? We'll go for like 2 more speakers.
yes, you are recognized.
Okay, so, my country, just maybe France. France agrees with the sentiments of Mexico, and would also like to point out that most of these procedures are done in the home. As the UK pointed out, they are not like medical procedures. They are done by personal doctors in the home, so it's very hard to combat this if we want to stop it altogether, so we should expand current programs.
Hugh.
The United Kingdom would like to point out that although the programs we have come up with are quite good programs and they're a step in the right direction, I believe they're antiquated because they don't address the cultural differences. They simply just address the purely physiological differences. And although the physiological and physical ramifications, both at the time and in the future, are quite great, I think that the cultural differences are going to be something that needs to be addressed.
David.
I'm Sid. I represent Nigeria. So the country of Nigeria agrees on this issue as a big problem. In fact, the rate is of 30% of female genital mutilation. But we do not agree with so far the discussions of how the countries are not going to get assistance. We believe that the core of this issue requires that the United Nations here will create a proposal that not only has aid, but also has foreign influences of like hospitals and specific regulations, so that the country itself doesn't have to deal with it.
Excellent. Alright, we're done.
Well, we're done with the moderated caucus.
Okay, moderated caucus has expired at this time. Looking for other points or motions at the floor, or on the floor.
Point of inquiry?
Yes.
Could you motion to extend the moderated caucus?
Yes.
Yes, you may.
I'm not going to.
Theoretically, you could. You do need to specify at that time how long, although the speaker's time and the topic will stay the same.
Point of inquiry, do we just keep this open discussion going until someone motions to like do something, like write stuff?
If there are no motions on the floor and for whatever reason everyone's just kind of sitting there like a zombie, you'll go right back to the speakers list until the chair gets another motion.
The speakers list will continually be populated, so yes,
Oh, so there will always be people on the speakers list? Okay, so if I motion to move to unmoderated caucus right now, would that be, is that the move we want to go?
Yes.
Okay,
So
that's
the
what I
best
thought.
time to motion is when the chair will ask for a motion, which is between something ending and what are you gonna do next?
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
I have an inquiry, how do you get on the speakers list when? it's-
Send a note.
Oh, okay.
Point of inquiry, are
I'm not on the
you,
speakers list.
Yes.
Are you timed at the conferences? Like, is there like a wave of that stuff?
Yes, at 30 seconds, if the speaking time is 30 seconds, you'll maybe have a nice chair and they'll be like, delegate, your time has expired. Or at 30 seconds, you'll have a dick chair and they'll just start banging the gavel until you shut up. and
What
sit
he
down.
means is, they will do mine has always been, you get a 10-second, 5-second, and then they will continue to beat the shit out of the table until you stop talking after the time has expired.
I've had chairs yell over delegates.
I've had chairs
It's always
yell
fun.
over delegates too, because fuck you, you don't matter after 30 seconds. So, at this point, you'll ask for motions, and we can either continue with a different motion, or it will continue to the speakers list. If the speakers list ends up exhausted,
You automatically go to voting.
you automatically go to voting, but if we don't have anything to vote on, we will automatically table it, I believe. I want to say that's what we do.
Oh, wow.
I'm pretty
It's
sure.
very inefficient.
And then you go to the, well, I mean, it's by the concept of, if you don't want to talk about this, well, let's just move over here.
Yeah.
So, that works.
Especially because how long do the topics usually range of? How many topics will we have to discuss?
You will have typically 3 or 4.
Okay.
Trojan Run only has 2 per committee.
2, okay,
Two.
so that's easy.
Okay.
So this is the exact same as this, so with
Just-
Trojan
yeah.
Run, if you don't pick one, you get the other. You only have 2 things to research. So, question, or
Point
like,
of inquiry, yeah. Would you advise that you talk about other topics before you write your papers?
No. No, you want to get a working paper up there to deal with that topic, because if by the 3rd day, if you're not making any progress and there isn't even a paper up, the chair will start to get really angry. You want to solve the problem. If you set the agenda to A and then B,
And then
you
don't solve it.
better sure as hell get a resolution out there for A, because they will not be pleased if you don't.
you will also fall behind. So, if you are the sort of person that will not stand up and take charge and manipulate people into doing things and talk to people and start making connections and making groups and forming groups and creating something, you will have to latch onto somebody as fast as you can. Because once you get left, you're gone. And then you can just kind of like, do you mind if Kenya, attaches is a signatory to this? And that's not very fun. You want to be part of it. You want to be doing things. I've seen people that are countries that really don't matter try to change an entire room of people. And it usually works because people are cattle. That's what I'd suggest. I suggest you get on it pretty quick. Typically, you talk about all of one topic, then you talk about all of the other topic once there has been working papers written and a resolution or 2 or 4 or 10 adopted. And these documents that are the resolutions are typically very long, depending on how wordy people get and how many people you have doing things, yes.
Point of inquiry, so a working paper and or resolution can only be discussing one topic?
Yes.
Okay.
But you can, it's just like the same as the American system, where you can say, okay, we're gonna focus only on Planned Parenthood, but instead, we're also going to stick in there a funding bill to defund something. Yes, we'll fund Planned Parenthood, but we're also going to defund the Democratic Party, something like that. So you can tack on a whole bunch of stuff. And that's when you would use something like a division of the question or an amendment sheet to remove things that really don't matter. Like if you're talking about female genital mutilation and you start to move it to the topic of, well, circumcision is wrong. That's great, I'm glad you have a feeling and go have fun regrowing it. But you're still supposed to be talking about FGM, not circumcision, not male circumcision. And so, people we'll remove that little aspect of it. So they can get fairly broad, but as long as you bring it all back in, that's good. And again, something like general, they'll usually be a lot more specific than that. So, any other points of inquiry? Cool. Motions.
Motion to move into unmoderated caucus.
Delegate, could you please be more specific with the time allotted for speaking and the entire time of the caucus?
You said they usually do like 20, 30 minutes?
Or
Unmoderated, yes, is, yeah,
So,
between 10 and, I've had conferences vary. At Harvard, if you do more than 10 or 15 minutes, they get pissed. At Midwest Mun and Sermon in North Carolina, if you go anything under 30, no one's gonna vote for it. So I've had 3 hours.
oh.
It was a very long lunch.
So for this one, we'd like to do like 5 minutes with 1 minute speaking.
I say, well, let's pretend to vote on it, but not actually do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanna be out of here in, I wanna say 4 minutes.
Okay.
So,
So 60 seconds.
Oh, God, an hour.
Yeah.
what?
That clock is?
To
No, my
pause
clock
this
is
meeting
now
until
behind.
Tuesday,
Yeah.
October
Yeah.
6th at 7 p.m.
Ooh.
I'm gonna rule that in order.
Alright.
Not to rule that dilatory,
Can we
as
film
I'm the
that?
Secretary General, regarding the concept of most of the people that are here might not come to that, and most of the people that are there might not be here. So I'm gonna rule that dilatory, because, whoo-bam! I don't know, I think we made a lot of progress, so I think we can probably just stop here.
Can we act like a motion to acclimate? Oh, we have no legislation written yet, so.
What is
We're done.
point of inquiry?
Yes.
What's the motion to acclimate?
It's like when you just adopt the bill that we have nothing.
Adopt by acclamation.
Adopt.
So if I am to say, looking for a motion to table debate for the evening and return later, and then somebody goes, I move to vote by acclamation, and then everyone goes, yeah! And then everyone, okay, vote by acclamation, yeah! And then everybody says yes.
It's over.
Make sure you fill those out, because I will hound you. I will do it.